redesign your system from the ground up using traditional software mechanisms and redesign your business logic and build from the ground up, your own internal infrastructure, it's not going to cost anywhere near that price, right? Traditional software and infrastructure is essentially dead.
Of companies, because I think somebody may appointed AI as a CEO of a company recently, and then you're gonna have AI shareholders and you're gonna have AI board members, and then where's the company here? It's gonna be an AI company, and then like no humans allowed, like fuck off, stupid human,
Yeah, you're gonna walk into a meeting room and AI is gonna tell you weren't invited to this, and you're like, all right. Humans. Well, when he said, a lot of companies say they're AI enabled, so they take their feature set and then they say, and we added AI, right? That's not AI first. AI is not a feature. It's how you start from the ground up.
Right.
And a lot of companies, when they want to look at AI, they do the first thing by making sure that, Shopify just did this, where all employees they have their own chat GPT account, that they need to make sure that they're running their ideas and things through AI. That's kind of dipping your toe in. When we talk about being AI first, when we talk about operationalizing AI,
Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of What About AI Agents. And today we have with us Anthony Franco, who is a senior entrepreneur, chief revenue officer. He built 6 businesses, achieved many exits. He led Cosmero to over $12.5 million in annual recurring revenue, and he's a chief launch architect. So Anthony, excited to have you on the show. I mean, really, really excited to hear about how you are utilizing AI to transform the way you work. So let's get started. Let us know a little bit about you and just introduce yourself, and we'll go from there.
Sure. Thanks for the intro. Yeah, I kind of I was an AI hobbyist. It's funny. So when somebody says they're in AI, what does that mean? Right? Does it mean you're designing chips for NVIDIA? Does it mean that you're in machine learning? Does it mean that you're working on LLMs? Or does it mean you're in Chat GPT 3 times a day? And
Right.
I was certainly the latter of that for quite a while. And I wouldn't say I was in AI. I just said I leverage AI for my work. But over the last 6 months, that is significantly changed.
So what happened?
A really good friend of mine, if it's not trite to say, I would say he's my best friend, owns an AI company. The company's called OneReach. And he asked me, he knows what I do and what I'm good at. I'm good at taking really complex products and ideas and simplifying them and packaging them, essentially launching them. But he's built this platform that has since become the number one agentic platform on the planet for enterprise. It's called OneReach. And he asked me to help him package it. So I kind of went native. I went into how they develop and operationalize AI into enterprise. And and recognize some really interesting patterns that they used to develop operational AI, and started writing it down. Essentially, they want to be a platform and not a services company. They don't want to implement for customers. They want to develop a really strong platform to let you build agents. But they were forced into developing a services arm to help companies implement. And he's like, I want to enable other folks to do that. So help me develop this methodology. And that's what I did. So I essentially created this thing called AI First Principles, and what we now call the Wiser Method, and open sourced those to talk about how do you operationalize AI? When you say you're in AI for an enterprise, what does that mean? What does that look like? And how do you put those principles into practice?
So how do you operationalize AI? Like, what does that even mean? Does it mean like releasing AI like on the organizational level, making AI like making your organization AI first? Like, what are some of the things that the core organization needs to do to operationalize AI, and why do they need to do it?
Yeah, so it's really there's this been popularized phrase called AI first, being AI first, and you asked a great question. What does that mean? Mark Andreessen actually defined it pretty well when he said, a lot of companies say they're they're AI enabled, so they take their feature set and then they say, and we added AI, right? That's not AI first. AI is not a feature. It's how you start from the ground up.
Right.
And a lot of companies, when they want to look at AI, they do the first thing by making sure that, Shopify just did this, where all employees they have their own chat GPT account, that they need to make sure that they're running their ideas and things through AI. That's kind of dipping your toe in. When we talk about being AI first, when we talk about operationalizing AI, you have to look at the entire system and essentially redesign the entire organization from the ground up with AI in mind. Ironically, what that means is building AI last. The worst thing that you can do is automate with an agent a bad process. So AI first really means essentially redesigning your organization and simplifying it and doing and making it the most efficient, and then adding agentic programming and an AI platform on top of that.
So essentially, then what it means is that you take roles in the organization, you map them to some sort of prompts that replace that role, and then you kind of try to connect it to the broader ecosystem of an organization. So if you have like a triage, an ATSM agent, like a, I don't know, a salesperson that needs a contract, you connect all these things and then you make them utilize AI and you make them do that first before they do anything else. Or
No,
is this a correct?
that's no. That's essentially what you need to do is look at how things currently work in your organization, and and then before you apply AI, make the process more efficient. So if you talk
Right.
about a sales process, right? You have to make the process more efficient. You have to subtract all of the BS out of your processes. You have to rethink and redesign
Mm.
how that process works. And then once you've taken all the BS out, now it's a good time to automate. You don't want to automate what you're currently doing. You want to automate what you should be doing. And to understand what you should be doing, you need to understand how your organization does stuff. You have to understand how you serve your customers. You have to understand how you serve your employees, how you talk to customers first before you start automating. It's 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 harder than just simply asking a prompt engineer to draft a prompt on how to automate something. It's a lot more complicated than that.
It makes sense. So you have like your as is, then you have your to be. I understand what the to be is, and the to be needs to be AI focused, and that's how you redefine an organization. So you go away from this kind of like the old way of doing, because unless you transform, you're not able to utilize AI properly or be an AI first organization. Is that what you're trying to kind
Yeah,
of
exactly
confirm?
right. Are you gonna use AI to do what you're currently crappy at doing? Right? Are you,
That's
every
the sense, yeah.
organization, yeah, every organization has bureaucratic systems in place and processes in place. You need AI allows you to unravel that and really truly think about design thinking your way through your processes and your products and your customers, and then automating it intelligently with agents instead of and so think of it, instead of replacing bad processes, you're redesigning the processes the way they should be, because you can enforce that should be with agents and with automation.
That's extremely interesting. So I guess a lot of consulting companies like Deloitte, etc., are really interested in this type of tech, right? Because that's what their customers are probably asking them to do, just to transform their existing businesses. So how does a business go about adopting something like this? How long does a project like that take? and like what does the like investment look like?
Yeah. So look, we've put forth two. I'll just give them a plug here. They're open source, so you can go to aifirstprinciples.org
Right.
and wisermethod.org. Both of these are open source. There are essentially AI first principles is what you need to be in order to think AI first. And Wiser Method is a method to put that into practice, and there's a corresponding white paper to it. And it steps you through the process. And these are relatively, I mean, these are based on nearly a decade of OneReach putting these, developing organizational AI and operational AI. And it is heavy research focused, and then once you understand the system, you get embedded in the system and how things work, then it's heavy design focused, design thinking, understanding like old or existing lead experience architects in the UX world are phenomenal leaders in this space because they can think through a problem and visualize it and architect the solution, and then you now take that visual flow, and that's the right skill set to help start building agentic flows.
Right.
It's
So it's like
and you asked
yeah.
me specifically. Sorry, I didn't answer your question. How long does this process take? It depends on how complex the system is that you're trying to replace. Like typical software answer, it depends. um, but it is meant to be lightweight. So it's not a dogmatic system like Agile or Lean or Six Sigma. It's much more understand the system and then start fixing and then automate. So it can be a single person over the course of a month, or it could be a team over the course of 6 months, just depending on what you're trying to automate.
So maybe you can walk us through like a typical use case of that, like of that transformation, right? So like let's take a smaller company. We can let's say in the transportation space, and like how do they like switch from like so they have like procurement, they have all these departments that working together to facilitate transportation. Maybe they have a freight of trucks. How do they become AI first? Or is that not a good example? Is that not a good client to do
No,
that?
I think logistics is a fantastic example because logistics is wrought with incredible process, because logistics is very hard, right? There's a lot of processes within logistics that require approvals, that require connection points into customers and locations, and like it's a great example. And if you're a logistics company, so if you're walking through the Wiser method, right? The first thing is you have to question everything. W stands for ask why. Why are we doing the things the way we're doing? Define the purpose of what you're trying to automate. Question everything. Document currently how it works and who does the approval process, and then you define your objectives. What are we trying to? And with a logistics company, it's I would guess it's make the scheduler's life easier, right? So right now the scheduler's person is responsible for talking to the trucks and talking to customers and trying to coordinate this incredibly burdensome process. Then the next thing is you start identifying the waste, and you start pulling out, subtracting, well, first of all, you identify where the waste is in the process. Then you subtract. S stands for subtract and simplify. Then you simplify the process. This is all before automation. Then once you subtract till it hurts and define who's responsible for what, then you slowly add things back in as things are obviously missing. Once you pull a bunch of stuff out, things are obviously missing, you evolve it. And that process of understanding the process in which the company operates makes you smart about how things are going. Now you can decide what to automate and how to automate. That's what the R is. The R is redesign and automate. So the thing that I've been saying is, the reason why you have to go through the WISE steps is because you have to really be embedded and go native in how something works before you can automate it. So you have to become wise before you can become wiser. I don't know if that helped or not.
No, that helped tremendously. So really, you strip all the internal SOPs and processes down to the bare minimum, where to the point where they don't really work properly, but then you can start layering AI on top of the things that don't work and optimizing it, and then you become AI first, because that's kind of where you removed all the unnecessary redundancies, all these complex bureaucratic approval systems and flows, and then you moved it over to AI, and you figured out how to automate those processes. So how much would it cost, like a transportation company, to go AI first? What would that look
Well,
like in terms of? I mean, you mentioned like you can have a guy who will sit there, but the transformation effort is never a guy. It's the organization has to say we're doing it, and then everybody has to do
yes.
it, and everybody has to adopt it, and you're gonna have to obviously pay OpenAI or any one of those providers for your stuff or host your own models. So like, well, what does that even look like?
Yeah, so it very difficult question to answer because it dives into a couple of things. One, what is the complexity of the process, and it, let me put it a better way to kind of frame the cost, right? Is if you were to redesign your system from the ground up using traditional software mechanisms and redesign your business logic and build from the ground
Mm.
up, um, your own internal infrastructure, it's not going to cost anywhere near that price, right? Traditional software and infrastructure is essentially dead. The hardest part in this process is the understanding of what currently exists. And because you need to be, like I said, you need to go native. You need to understand, why does this thing happen? Why does it happen this way? Who's the approval? Where's the bottlenecks? And if you already have, I call that the sponsor. So the sponsor of the organization that can um, give the approvals to make changes, they need to be able to understand the processes deeply. That can be instant if your sponsor understands how everything works.
Mm.
Then the the subtracting and simplifying and the evolving, that can take anywhere from a month and a small team of 3 to 6 months and a larger team of 10. Hopefully, I tend to really lean on um, smaller teams because they're more effective. So ideally, it's a team of 3 for a couple of months working on simplifying and evolving it, and then it's an iterative process to redesign and automate. You redesign and automate essentially looks like you have a workshop, you stand in front of a whiteboard, you get the team that has been working on and simplifying the process together, you define what the ideal state is, and then you bring on an AI platform that can help you automate and integrate into your system, and then you slowly build agents one by one, and pulling and automating the things that doesn't need a human in the loop. And then you decide, we need a human in the loop on these edge cases,
Mm.
and you just slowly building agent by agent by agent until you start automating as much as the system as you possibly can. That could be over the course of years with a small team, because you're constantly improving and on that design that you created in that whiteboarding session.
Huh. And what does the ROI on that look like? So I'm sure you're at the forefront of this. So you have a lot of organizations that you helped go on AI first. So what are some of the immediate benefits that they experience? And what are some non-obvious benefits that they started to see once they've done this transformation, and that transformation has kind of taken over their organization, and they are at some stage. I'm sure not there is an organization in the world that's AI first right now, like at a larger scale, but at least they're partially on the way there, and they're seeing some improvements, some benefits, and some non-obvious benefits that somebody who says, well, I don't know, like, might be convinced by.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So obviously, the initial project that you take on, um, there's definite ROI, because you're not only are you removing the bureaucracy and the need for approvals and the waste that comes with the bureaucracy, But your speed and ability to deliver, the velocity in your ability to deliver goes dramatically up. So I'll give you a simple use case. I'm not going to tell you what company this was for, but
Right.
we were able to reduce the time to quote, right? So it was a sales process. Company calls in, hey, I want a quote to be able to deliver fiber to my premises. And it used to take them a week to deliver a quote, and we reduced that down to a half a day. And the reason why that matters is customers make decisions on what company to go with because of how quickly they get back the quote. And it's usually the first or second quote because it shows the efficiency of the company, right? So we doubled their conversion rate because we created the quote in such an effective way. Now there's, you ask for tangential. So one is ROI, you increase your conversion rate. That speed really does matter. But also we help them develop this culture of, once they have that AI platform in place and they're starting to develop this system on their solution to improving quote times, now they're like, oh, this platform can do this. And let's go. Now you're developing not just an AI first product, but you're developing an AI first company where everybody's thinking about how do we drive efficiency organizational wide. Another great thing about this is you're not replacing jobs. You're just allowing humans to do what they're great at, and that's be creative and solve problems that haven't been encountered before. So you're switching the monotony out of somebody's job, and you're giving them the ability to think creatively, which is a huge boost to morale within an organization. It's unbelievable, and jobs become more fun because now I'm not solving or I'm not chasing a quote through a process, right? Which is just mind-numbingly boring. To how do we improve our quotes? How do we help our customers save money? How do we squeeze a little bit more juice out of the squeeze when a customer is coming in? So it allows your team to be and your company to be more creative in their jobs. It's really inspiring to watch.
Yeah, I can imagine. If you remove all the boring tasks from a person's day to day, but then don't they end up then chasing those prompts? Like, doesn't it end up like, aren't there like some, like, I guess, drawbacks to agents? So where, like, in my experience, a lot of these productivity agents, you end up fiddling with the prompts, and sometimes you feel like you could have done it manually much faster instead of you sitting there like vibe coding or vibe excelling or vibe whatever it is that you're doing with that agent.
Yeah, so this comes down to so an agent isn't necessarily built on a prompt. It's built on a flow that includes prompts.
Right.
So you have to have guardrails in what you to your point, right? So trying to get an AI like a ChatGPT operator to do what I want it to do it's not even worth it. But if you have the right AI platform, if you have a platform that you can use essentially if-then statements and messaging frameworks and flows and insert AI in an intelligent way. So an agent isn't all driven by AI. It's driven by a human instilled process, this, then this, then this, and use AI here, and then this and this and this, and then use AI here, and bring a human in the loop here, and have a conversation, and then take the person out of the human in the loop and drop them back in the agent. That process is, first of all, really easy to build with no-code platforms that are focused on AI, and secondly, and I'm gonna, again, the company that I've been working with and studying is OneReach. That's exactly what they do, is insert AI in the right places and let humans intelligently tell the system what to do and what not to do, and take AI out when it doesn't make sense.
Nice, nice. Yeah, it seems to be extremely powerful, especially in enterprise. And we've been talking to lots of enterprise execs and other people who are doing something similar. Some are using no-code platforms, some building agents. Either or, all of them are trying to go towards the same goal that you're mentioning, AI first. But how has AI helped shape your like personal kind of development, and as a chief revenue officer or a chief launch officer, how has that transformed your like personal stuff, not just like on the corporate level?
Oh, so well, I mean, personally, I'll share a funny story. So this was about a year and a half ago. No, about a year ago. I was. This has nothing to do with business, um, but I was having an argument with my wife, and we kept butting heads over and over and over again. We couldn't get past um our stances on, like we were at an impasse in that argument, and it was causing a lot of anxiety in my marriage. And on a lark, um on a long drive, I was in my car alone, and I turned on ChatGPT and I said, "All right, you're going to play the role of my wife. Here's the conversation that we're having. Here's where I can't get an impasse on." And I role played the argument with ChatGPT. ChatGPT was my wife and I was me, and we kept going back and forth. And then I would ask ChatGPT to explain her perspective and to help me explain mine. And it was groundbreaking for me. That role playing it gave me insight into somebody else's perspective that was immensely helpful. And I think if you apply that in not just in your personal life, but gaining an objective third party perspective is what I find incredibly valuable. Now, you could do that with customers and trying to gain customer insight, but just like build me a couple strawman customers and personas and tell me how they think and tell me why my ideas don't work. You can do that with if you're trying to get your career, to talk to me about what I need to do as an employee. Here's what I think I do. Here's what my boss is telling me. So perspective is really what I think ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini all do a really phenomenal job at.
Yeah, I think perspective is really something, because even when I do commercial proposals, I give them like I write a commercial proposal and I send it to Claude, say, okay, well, pretend that you're a CTO and tell me what you think. And says, well, that price is ridiculous. I'm never gonna get that signed off. And they're like, oh, well, I shouldn't have. Like, no, that makes sense. And then they give you a critique. And yeah, to your point, psychological assessment and evaluation should become so much cheaper now that we have these agents, and the agents can perform quite complex forms of therapy to help people get past issues that they couldn't have before in business or in personal life.
I 100% agree. It's if you want to grow as a human, this is going to sound really weird, but if you want to grow as an individual, you need to get yourself uncomfortable. You need somebody to tell you that you're full of BS. And um and I find AI to do a very good job at that.
Yep.
To challenge my assumptions. It does a great job at it.
If you tell it to be honest, it will be honest. And that's kind of has its drawbacks, but I figure better that than not knowing and then being an idiot in the room.
Yeah. Yeah. Success and comfort are not compatible, and AI can really cause you to be uncomfortable.
Right. So, and where do you see this technology going? So, beside just business transformation, they're building these agents. This is going to evolve. I think OpenAI or Claude are eventually going to build their own kind of agentic beasts that are going to be like they're going to put billions of dollars and create this really complex agentic frameworks. But where do you think this technology going beyond agentic? Because agentic is kind of becoming mainstream now. People used to talk about it last year. This year, everybody is adopting it. Where do we go past agentic? How do we go past agentic?
Yeah, we've talked about intellectually spoken about this quite a bit. And a really great podcast I'll point you to also is called Invisible Machines.
Mm,
They talk a lot about the future of AI. They also wrote a book. It's a best-selling book, The Age of Invisible Machines. It talks a lot about the future of it. I'm not a few. Think of me as an archaeologist. I'm a more of a journalist, right? A scribe writing things down as it's happening. I'm not a futurist. That's
right.
other people. But I've heard and what I've been listening to is this notion that, well, let me put it in a different. Let me try to explain it with a parable. So, if I'm in Nantucket and I want to have dinner, um, I and I'm not going to go and let's say my phone is dead. How am I going to figure out where to go? And if you see the golden arches, if you see a McDonald's, you know what you're going to get at McDonald's. It's safe, right? It's
Right.
I know what a Big Mac tastes like, and and in a few years, AI is going to be able to make any place safe. So what the golden arches gives me is this notion of identity of a safe place to eat. Brand really, really matters. And what I've been hearing from futurists is that AI is not coming for our job, it's coming for the company. It's coming for that brand safety. And so I can AI will let me walk into any restaurant and it'll make me what I want to eat. It'll know me. And so brand becomes less important. The company becomes less important. So I think that's a really interesting, albeit non-tangible way of thinking about AI, how it's really going to transform how we think about everything. And this notion that the company goes away, I think is a really entertaining way of thinking about it.
Yeah, I think in the end of the day, if we end up getting AI as CEOs of companies, because I think somebody may appointed AI as a CEO of a company recently, and then you're gonna have AI shareholders and you're gonna have AI board members, and then where's the company here? It's gonna be an AI company, and then like no humans allowed, like fuck off, stupid
Yeah.
human, you know?
Yeah, you're going to walk into a meeting room and AI is going to tell you weren't invited to this. And you're like, all
No
right.
humans.
Absolutely right.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but like to your point, personalization at scale. Like imagine there is no more McDonald's and all the restaurants are the same and you walk out and it cooks to you exactly what you want. It's kind of like, scary and utopia. Like it's like, hello, Anthony, this is your food. And it just like drop some souvlaki on your plate and you eat it and you're like, that's it.
Yeah,
And rate the
but
rate your experience.
it really becomes it really becomes
Commoditized.
this. I'm looking forward to it. So I'm an internal optimist, and the
Right.
reason why is it's because I really appreciate human creativity and
Right.
novel ideas, and those are going to win. Right, the builders are going
Right.
to win. And then the designers are going to win in the new economy because they're going to be the ones that I know how I like my hamburger, and there's going to be somebody that says, "Have you tried peanut butter on it?" And I'm going to be like, I've never thought about trying peanut butter on a hamburger. And I tried it and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. AI is not going to tell me to do that, right? It's going to be
Right.
people. And that's it's a very novel example, but it's going to become a place where human creativity is going to be, and creators are going to be the most important people on the planet. And I think that's kind of a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, if AIs disrupt enterprise and business in a way where enterprise and businesses cease to exist because AI will do everything, then we will ultimately have new tasks to complete in this world. So
Yes.
that's kind of but it's a radical transformation. I don't know how the world will support it or how our population will be able to support it. And will our population survive? Like, will all of our population be needed because like the reason why we have so many people is because the world requires all these people. Well, what happens after AI like replaces all these actions and tasks, and it builds itself? I mean,
Yeah, Rob Wilson, the author of Age of Invisible Machines, I was worried about that too until he said, we humans have no problem inventing jobs. We have no problem inventing things to do, right? Like think about a barista at a coffee shop. Like, why is that a job? It's coffee.
yeah,
It's a service oriented job, right? So we're going to invent new things, new ways of earning a living. That's going to be a very service oriented culture for sure. But it'll be creative services that I can't even think about. I don't have the imagination to think about what those jobs are, but in 10 years, I guarantee you and I are going to look at it and go, that's a job. Somebody's making money at that. And there's going to be a lot of those. Because we're going to find new and creative ways to earn a living and provide services for one another.
I hope so. It's very interesting. So beside that, what are you working on now? Are you just working on that company? Because you're a serial entrepreneur, so I assume you have a lot of things that you're doing now. So what are some other things that you're excited about?
Yeah, I'm excited about, essentially I'm going to start trying to build a community around, AI first principles and the wiser method. So I'm going on a on a podcast and local community tour just to talk about these concepts and help people understand what it means to be AI first. So I'm very excited to be doing that. I also, you're right. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I have multiple things that I'm doing. I also help entrepreneurs sell their companies. So I help entrepreneurs find buyers for their business. I help companies launch, but I'm really focused on this AI first stuff. I really think I can add value here, so I'm excited to do that.
It's something I can get excited about as well, because many companies are adopting it, but there is no like foundational set of principles, and this sounds like something that could be adopted across many organizations. You'll have an AI first consultant, like you have an agile coach, scrum
Yes,
master, like that's gonna be like new jobs right there. There you go.
exactly right. Like, yeah, implementing AI will be a job.
Well, yeah, chief AI officer, and to them they're gonna have like I don't know AI master, like I don't know like what they're gonna call those people. I don't know. I have no idea what those jobs are gonna be called yet, but they will be there and they will govern AI in organizations.
Yes. Yeah. Until yeah, I think it's really fascinating to think about this notion of an AI CEO.
Yeah,
And getting human emotion out of decision making, that may be a good thing. Objective decision making, emotions matter; they're very important, but and intuition matters, which AI doesn't have. But removing a lot of the emotion from decision making might be a really good thing.
I'm still waiting for AI CEO hallucinate something and then like be so certain of their hallucination and like tank the entire company. That's gonna be fun, but like eventually that's gonna happen and they're gonna be like no, it's like no, I'm the CEO, so you do what I tell you, and then like, the company goes
It's
bankrupt.
funny though, because in reality, there's in the companies where the AI is a CEO, there's really somebody behind that CEO saying, no, we're not going to do that. Right. So it's not really the CEO. There's still a person there going, nah. We're going to ignore
No,
that. Um,
abort.
exactly right. So it's CEO in name only.
Yeah. Imagine it decides to give all its money to charity and then transfers it has MCP, so it transfers all the company funds to some charity. And
It's
moves
going
to
to
Cayman
happen.
Islands.
There's going to be a phishing attack against an AI employee, and it's going to. I mean, we've heard of these, right? Where an AI customer service agent online agrees to sell a brand new car for $1, and it's a binding contract. We've seen that. We've seen those things before. That's all about guardrails and that kind of stuff. But it's going to happen. continually
Oh yeah,
happen.
security experts. That's gonna be a new job. And people reviewing all those things because it's gonna be making a lot of mistakes. At least for the next 10 years for sure. Eventually they'll figure it out and it's gonna be really smooth, but not until uh, it will create enough of regulation through government bodies on its own to prevent it from expanding as far as it needs and as quick as it needs, just because of how this technology works, which is not ideal. I would have rather it already become our overlord in like 5 years, but probably not going to happen.
Yeah, that's probably. I'm not sure if I want that. But this is again getting back to design, right? Get the importance of design. You Part of design, and I love the Steve Jobs quote: "Design is not how it looks and feels; it's how it works." And when you talk about design, and when you're designing agents, part of that process is trying to imagine and put the guardrails up for all the exception cases where these things can go wrong. And you need a platform that can help you make sure that those things don't go wrong that way.
Right.
um, right. So you can't use a chat GPT operator to automate your company, because it hallucinates. It makes a lot of bad mistakes. So you need AI in the right places, and automation, human structured automation in other places.
Right. Right. Anyways, I'm excited about the future of AI, and it was extremely interesting to have you on the podcast today, Anthony. Maybe there is anything you want to promote or you want to mention that for people to kind of go and do sign up for your newsletter, or check out something that you're working on that you're excited about, maybe your first principles site, or
Yeah. So thank you for that. So just aifirstprinciples.org is where to get started. And just connect with me on LinkedIn. It's just it's on the screen at Anthony Franco. Connect with me there, and I'll get you dialed into the communities. I'm just now on the early stages of building these communities, so we'll do local meetups and webinars and that kind of stuff, just to evangelize the principles and the Wiser method. And I really would just appreciate feedback. Like, tell me where we've got it wrong. Tell me where we need to add stuff. Again, just shoot me a message on LinkedIn, connect with me and shoot me a message there.
yeah. And look, I'll be happy to kind of maybe do like a small group here in Toronto about AI first. That's interesting. We can, like, if you have like some sort of template for these meetups, we could schedule something, because it's a good way to get people involved and to build something.
I would love, so I'm going to take you, I'm going to force you to do that with me. So that would be great.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think starting these communities, especially if you're an entrepreneur or a business owner, it's a good thing. And if you do it like once a month, it's not too taxing. You just need to find a venue and you need to promote it and see who comes, right? Give people free beer or whatever.
Exactly right. No, I would love to have you a part of that. That would be fantastic.
Sure, let's discuss it. Well, anyways, this is Anthony Franco. He's a serial entrepreneur. Reach out to him on LinkedIn. Connect with him if you need to kind of learn more about, especially transformation, AI first transformation in large enterprises. I think it's a very prevalent topic, and a lot of boards are now talking and mandating this. So yeah, let's connect again in the future, Anthony. We'd love to have you back on the show, and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me chat about it.
Thank you.